You're wired in. SmallCapVoice.com. Following is a presentation of SmallCapVoice.com, today's leader in investor relations, capital formation, and retail support. Now, with your online business briefing, SmallCapVoice.com's Stuart T. Smith.
Welcome one, welcome all to this online business briefing. And as you just heard, I'm your host, Stuart Smith. And we're joined today by Bruce Luckman. He's the executive director of Warwick. And we're speaking to Bruce in regards to a press release that was issued by FIMA. Here's the press release. FIMA Incorporated announces participation in Ghana Gold Project. Listeners, you can follow along by using that ticker symbol FIMA. And if you'd like to find this press release, it came out June 18th, 2012. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. So for our listeners, let's kind of take a step back and learn about the relationship with FIMA and Warwick, and then let's talk a little bit about these operations in Ghana. Go ahead, Bruce.
We are a mining company operating in Ghana. We're a Ghanaian company, Canadian Ghanaian owned. We've been in business in Ghana since 2005. In early 2012, we acquired an alluvial mining concession on a river called the Jimmy in the Ashanti region of Ghana, which is probably the best known and arguably the richest gold mining area in the country. And I should mention at this point in time that Ghana is, as a small country, is the second biggest producer of gold in Africa. And we went into a concession on the Jimmy River in early 2012 at the onset of the rainy season, and essentially conducted a very extensive bulk sampling program where we produced gold every day and determined the parameters of a future operation. It became obvious to us that in order to achieve economic viability, we needed to acquire much bigger equipment than the equipment which we currently had. And at that point in time, we started looking for funding to increase our daily production to 100 tons per hour. And we realized that in order to be successful in the kind of mining that we're doing, hourly volume is the key. And we then were able to contact FIMA, who agreed to fund us in order to expand our operations over there. And essentially that's our story.
There you go. Well, listeners, if you read along in the press release, you'll see FIMA has initially invested $400,000 in U.S. dollars for a 10% royalty interest on the companies, that's Warwick, gold production. So you can read along about this. Now, yourself and Dr. Manu have also agreed to join the FIMA Incorporated Advisory Board. Let's learn a little bit more about Dr. Johnson Manu, who's also on the ground there in Ghana.
Well, Dr. Manu is one of Ghana's best-known geologists. He's a senior lecturer in geology at the University of Ghana. He has old students in almost every major mining company in Africa, I would say. He is a very successful author. He's written many books on the Ghanaian and African gold deposition. He was educated in Germany, speaks fluent German, obviously fluent English, and many of the local dialects. He has tremendous connections both within the mining community and politically in Ghana. And he is an Ashanti, in other words, he's from the Royal Ashanti tribe, and very, very well established in the country.
Well, Bruce, as you pointed out, you and your company were looking for invested dollars so that you could get the equipment to produce or to get the production that you needed to have to make an efficient mining operation. So now that money's in place, and I'm assuming the purchasing of equipment is forthcoming or already underway, talk to us about the goals for the project for the remainder of 2012.
Okay. The acquisition of the equipment is key. And one of the major components of that is a 100-ton-an-hour plant, which is already in country. It's actually located in a fairly remote part of Ghana, and we have to bring it down there to our site. And once we have that set up, we will be establishing a permanent camp very close to the operation. and we anticipate running for 20 hours every day. We'll work day and night, and we will be running, as I say, 100 tons an hour, and our volume will be the key to success. Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention figures, but we anticipate, depending on the grades and the ground that we're operating on, that we should be producing between 1 and 2 kilograms of gold every day. And I should mention that the gold in Ghana is very, very fine. It's 22 carat plus as it comes out of the ground, which is very unusual. I mean, I mined many years ago in Nevada, and our gold was what we call 600 fine, which is only 60%, and the rest of it was silver. But here in Ghana, as the gold comes out of the ground, you know that you're getting very, very close to pure gold. As you know, pure gold is 4 nines, 24 carat. We will be operating right the way through the year. We are at the moment on the beginning of the rainy season, and we will have some days when, because of the rain, we will have to suspend operations for a couple of days. But the dry season comes on again in September, and once we hit the dry season, then we have a clear run right the way through to the end of the year, and right the way through until probably May or June of next year. So those are our goals: consistent production, sustained high volume, very, very low operating costs. Labor costs over in Ghana are very low. The work ethic is very good. We have some really loyal, well-trained people who've been with us for a long time, and we anticipate a very, very successful operation over there, running through to early 2013, when we anticipate that we will be moving on to yet another concession.
Very good. Well, listeners, as you've heard from Bruce, the different advantages that the company has, Warwick, there on the ground in Ghana, and we've talked a little bit about Dr. Johnson Manu, again, another person with a serious history there in Ghana. And then, Bruce, you've had a varied background as well. Now, obviously, you've been a part of gold your whole life, but let's also talk about you as an officer and a director of public companies. You and I were talking before the show. You have a very smart credo when it comes to being involved with public companies, that the shareholders come first. The information that gets to those shareholders is non-diluted information, clean and clear. Let's talk a little bit about your background as it is with public companies. Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, well, I was involved in the early days in the 80s on the Vancouver Stock Exchange. We had a publicly trading company there which had an alluvial mine in Manhattan, Nevada, which was successful, and I learned a lot of lessons as an embryo officer and director of a publicly trading company, and one of the first lessons that I learned was you have to respect the people who become your shareholders. They trust your company and they trust you to do a good job, and you can't afford to let them down. And I was taught very early on that as a publicly trading company, your biggest asset was your shareholder base, mm-hmm. and you had to make sure that those people understood what you were trying to do, how you were doing it, and had a respect for your integrity and your responsibility. And I tried in all my years in the public arena to maintain that ethic, and I think it works very, very well.
Well, and I'm sure the company's grateful to have you on their advisory board. Listeners, again, the public company's ticker symbol for FIMA is FIMA, F-I-M-A. Well, as it relates back to Ghana and your relationship with FIMA, as you mentioned earlier, Ghana is slightly smaller than the U.S. state of Oregon, and yet Ghana is the second biggest producer of gold in Africa. But that's not all there is in Ghana. Let's go over what else can be done there in Ghana and how you'll approach that with FIMA. Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, well, one of the exciting things about Ghana as a country is, from an initial point of view, is it's very business friendly. It's a multi-party democracy. It's very, very fiscally responsible. It hosts pretty well every major mining company in the world, with the focus obviously being on gold, although manganese and bauxite are also very important mineral exports from from Ghana. However, there are many other commodities available in the country which need to be explored and hopefully developed. And we have talked to FIMA about this, and we have agreed that we will jointly put together an exploration program using funds from our operations in Ghana, and we will explore for other properties that have deposits of merit, whatever they may be, whether it be gold, diamonds, or strategic metals and minerals, and we'll do our very best to develop those, not just in Ghana, but in other parts of Africa where we have many contacts, for the benefit of the company.
Well, listeners, once again, that is Bruce Luckman. He's the Executive Director of Warwick. Now, take a look at the press release that came out June 18th. Use that ticker again, FIMA, F-I-M-A. Talks about FIMA announcing participation in a Ghana gold project. That's really all we've talked about here today, and there is so much more going on with FIMA, and we will be speaking with other members of the FIMA team later on. But what a fascinating project that Bruce and Dr. Manu have been associated with. Sounds like a great investment for the company, FIMA. Sounds like a great team on the ground. Bruce, we thank you for your time here today at SmallCapVoice.com. Good luck there in Ghana. We look forward to getting an update from you here soon.
Thank you for having me.
For Bruce Luckman, this is Stuart Smith saying thanks so much for listening.
SmallCapVoice.com, today's leader in investor relations, capital formation, and retail support, provides its clients with the highest level of service. Our audio interviews are disseminated to one of the largest opt-in audiences available today. How? We at SmallCapVoice.com believe in aligning and affiliating ourselves with other leaders within the investor relations community. By sharing resources, each affiliated firm is made that much stronger and each client is served that much better. Our focus is to identify and provide the very best financial services and solutions available to clients and their shareholders. For more information about our services, please call us at 512-267-2430 or visit us on the web at www.smallcapvoice.com. This is a broadcast of SmallCapVoice.com, a financial communications and investor relations firm. SmallCapVoice.com receives payment for investor relations and financial consulting services that it provides to its clients. You should assume that officers, directors, and employees of SmallCapVoice.com or financial analysts mentioned and their families hold a position and intend to trade in these securities for their own accounts. This is not an offer or recommendation to buy or sell securities. Information in this broadcast is presented solely for informative purposes and is not intended to be, nor should it be construed as, investment advice. As in all investments, an investment in the featured company carries an investment risk. Listeners should review the company thoroughly with a registered investment advisor or registered stockbroker. This broadcast does not purport to be a complete study of the featured company or other companies mentioned. Information used and statements of fact have been obtained from the featured company and other sources but not verified nor guaranteed by SmallCapVoice.com as to completeness or accuracy. Such information is subject to change without notice.